way because I've been moving and I've just finally settled. Although we don't have much of a summer here in London, we're still gonna call it summer. We're gonna bring summer to our kitchen through food, through color, through flavor, through joy, through magic, through cooking. I personally don't want to spend hours in a kitchen over a hot stove in summer. It's the last thing that I want to do. So the recipes that I'm about to share are going to be very simple, but of course effective. The first one is a panzanella, which I cannot get enough of. There are so many different styles. It's a recipe that you can really put your own twist on. A panzanella is one of the most beautiful ways to showcase seasonal summer produce in all of its glory. We're actually not going to be doing much cooking. It just involves a lot of chopping. So the other recipe which I'm going to share with you is a raw Kelp Pad Thai with like a spicy almond butter dressing. One of my favorite recipes. It's from my ebook Balance. So for more inspiration, for more of my recipes, you can head over to my website to go and check out all of my ebooks. I would love to know which recipe catches your eye, which one you'll be trying out first. Let me know in the comments. I've got my ingredients, we're about to cook, we're about to work it. Let's go, let's go. So panzanella has been on rotation in my kitchen. As I mentioned earlier, you can really work it. If you have a lot of red peppers on hand, they work so well in a panzanella. Today, the main star are gonna be these juicy, plump, sweet, ripe, seasonal cherry tomatoes. I've got a real beautiful variety of tomatoes that we're gonna use. So for a salty element, for a salty kick, I've got some olives. I love using Kalamata olives. I think they're just one of my favorite types of olives, so I always have them on hand. We're also going to be using some capers, which just give a really nice layer of flavor. I feel, if you're a caper lover, you'll probably agree. And also some anchovies, which will be totally optional. You're going to see later on that we're going to add the anchovies to the dressing. So for me, basil is like the queen of summer herbs. It's just a must in a lot of food that I eat. Not only for its sweet aromatic flavors and taste, basil literally lifts my mood, and I always say this, just smelling basil will just do something. That's what it should be like with all food, but basil in particular just has something magical. So I'm going to be adding in some red onion, just a little bit of red onion. I don't want it too overpowering. I want it present, but I want it subtle. Along with tomatoes, we can also give a big clap and celebrate the welcoming of the humble cucumber. This time of the year is the best time of the year to enjoy cucumbers. Croutons are so important to a panzanella, which is why I use just one of the most divine breads, and that's ciabatta. Obviously, if you're gluten-free, then use something that works for you. And we're gonna spruce these croutons up. If you prefer them plain, that's fine. But if you're like me, you like to add a little bit of this and that, then get your dried herbs out, get some garlic powder, because we're going to be adding in dried herbs, garlic powder, olive oil. We're going to crisp them to absolute perfection. They are going to be something else. A good quality olive oil will go a long way, especially for a recipe like this where the ingredients are very simple. I picked up this gorgeous fruity olive oil from Portugal, which I am going to be using for this salad. So to start with, we're going to prepare the croutons. So take your day-old bread, whatever bread you're using, chop it into pieces. I like big chunky pieces. I like big chunky croutons. Place it in a bowl and scatter over some garlic powder. Be generous, okay? Be very generous, especially with the dried herbs. I had some fresh rosemary in the fridge that needed using, and I just thought it would be a great addition. You know, I just go with the flow in the kitchen. I seasoned with a little bit of sea salt. I drizzled over some olive oil, and I placed them flat on a baking tray, placing them into a 180 to 200 degree oven for around 10 to 12 minutes. Keep an eye on them. You don't want to overcook them. You definitely don't want to burn them, but just cook them until they're beautiful, golden, and looking something like this. So for your dressing, combine the extra virgin olive oil followed on by the white wine vinegar. Red wine vinegar would work really well. Give it some sea salt, black pepper, some oregano, a splash of lemon juice. I finely chopped up, almost kind of crushing the anchovies because I wanted to add them to the dressing. This step is totally optional, but it really makes all the difference if you add the anchovies in. I just love the way that the bread like absorbs this dressing once everything's mixed, and the anchovies just give it that extra oomph. So continue by chopping up all of your ingredients. I chopped up my cherry tomatoes. Look at these colors, oh my goodness. And then I chopped up my cucumber. I prefer just to remove the center of the cucumber. For this recipe, I don't let anything go to waste, so I literally just eat it on the spot. And then I chopped up my red onions, finely chopping up my red onions. So I placed the dressing over the cherry tomatoes. I did this as the first step, just letting the cherry tomatoes sit for a couple of minutes before I placed in the other ingredients such as the cucumbers, the red onion, capers, the olives. I gave everything a really good mix, and I finally chopped up the basil as well and placed that in. I then threw in the croutons, giving everything one final mix. You can let it sit for a few minutes just so all the flavors are absorbed, and then you can serve it. Serve this any way you wish to. If you're serving it kind of family style, sharing style, then just place it on a large dish. And if you're serving it as a starter, then you know what to do. If you're serving it as a side, you know what to do. This recipe is so simple, but has such big, bold flavors, such as the sharp dressing, which is mixed up with the anchovies. And then we've got the crunchy croutons, which just absorb all of that dressing. Honestly, one of the most delicious summer salads you can try. I know you're gonna love it. Very different from the first recipe, but just as satisfying, just as delicious. We're going to be whipping up some raw kelp pad thai noodles. I love kelp noodles. I've loved them for the longest. Sometimes they're a bit tricky to get hold of, so don't worry, don't stress. If you can't get hold of kelp noodles, you can use any noodle that you have in place. So we're really going to flavor these kelp noodles up. I wouldn't really recommend kelp noodles just plain. I've never tried them, but I just can't imagine that they'd be great. So yeah, we're going to work these. So the base of this raw kelp pad thai includes ingredients like peppers. I love using a combination of yellow, red peppers. I just want this to be as colorful as possible. I love using pak choy for an added sweetness, and mostly for the texture, I love adding carrots as well. I'm also going to be using some spring onions, which are in abundance right now. No question about it. The main herb within this recipe is coriander, which is going to go so well with the spicy almond butter dressing, which we're going to whip up. And we're going to be using some almond butter, some smooth almond butter. We're also going to be using some tamari. We're going to be using a little bit of sesame oil, a touch of maple syrup, lots of zesty lime, lots and lots of lime, some fresh ginger, some fresh garlic, some fresh chili. This is going to be intense. So this is the brand of kelp noodles that I'm using. It's a brand called Sea Tangle. So there's no right or wrong way to prepare kelp noodles. It's just however you want. And I found that placing them in hot water really helps soften them up. And also like actually massaging them really softens them up. Otherwise they've got quite a crisp kind of hard texture to them, which I prefer them to be softer. That's just how I like it. So I began by bringing some hot water to a boil. I switched it off once it had boiled. I placed in the rinsed and washed kelp noodles into the hot water and just let them sit for around half an hour. So it was then time to chop up all of our fresh ingredients. So I chopped up the bok choy, just finely chopping it. And I did the same with the red peppers, and I used some yellow peppers. Like I said, I want maximum color and maximum flavor. So I finally chopped up the red onions, the spring onions. So I'm quite particular how I like my carrots for this recipe. I like ribboned carrots. So I just use my peeler to ribbon my carrots. So for our spicy almond butter dressing, we're going to add our smooth almond butter to a bowl, followed on by our tamari. We're going to drizzle over that maple syrup, chop up a fresh lime and squeeze in that lime juice, a lot of lime juice. So we're going to add in our sesame oil along with a splash of water. This is just going to thin everything out, and we're just going to mix everything well. So once everything is thinned out, we're going to grate in our ginger and we're going to grate in our garlic. We're going to finely chop up our red chili. Now add the seeds accordingly. If you like a lot of heat and it's a spicy chili, great. If you just want to kind of go slowly, which is what I would suggest, then do that. So keep on stirring, splash in a little bit more water if you want to kind of make it a thinner consistency, make it to however you like it. And yeah, this is your spicy almond butter dressing. So delicious. So next, take your soaked kelp noodles, just giving them a rinse, drain off the water, and this is the first step. The second step is going to get them really, really soft. So place your kelp noodles into a large mixing bowl, along with all of the chopped ingredients. Pour over that spicy almond butter dressing, chop up that fresh coriander as much as you want, as much as you enjoy. So my tip in getting the kelp noodles soft is to actually use your hands, use your clean hands to massage everything well. This will just really kind of break everything down. This step is going to heighten the intensity of the flavor. All of the vegetables are going to get massaged and all of the flavors are going to combine. That spicy almond butter dressing. Again, like the first recipe, you can serve this as like a little side dish. You can use it as a starter. I personally love serving my raw Kelp Pad Thai with a piece of salmon. It goes so well, so yum. So there we have it, 2 absolutely beautiful, stunning summer recipes for you to enjoy this week or this summer or whenever you fancy. Let me know if you give them a try. Let me know which recipe you'll be trying out first in the comments. I will see you guys very, very soon in my next video. Everyone take care. See you soon. Bye.